I want to start this off with a question. Very simple question. It's, how has real estate changed your life?
It is not a simple question because I could not. I used to work some days 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Holidays, no such animal. You work them, okay? Now, I have my own schedule. Even if, and I am intimately involved in my company, and I put in the time, my phone is on, it's always on. Every time it rings, I cringe because it could be a problem that I really don't want to deal with. But it allows me, let's say I'm here right now in Florida. I'm back and forth every couple of months to Europe. It allows me a freedom that I never could have imagined. It allows me a life that I dreamt about, but never could have actually imagined obtaining. Funny, my father said to me growing up, do you have any idea what you want to do when you grow up? I says, I don't know what it's going to be, but I have to be rich. He was like, you have to be rich? I said, yeah. I said to him, I don't want to have to worry the refrigerator broke and I can't fix it. I want to be able to just, broke, no problem. Let me go buy a new one. That was the life I knew I had to have for myself. I've obtained it times 1,000. Pretty cool.
Was your father the one person that got you into real estate, or was it somebody else that got you into real estate?
Believe it or not, I got into real estate before my father did. Now, he did manage to get into real estate. He bought a couple of buildings, 2 buildings, as a matter of fact, in the Bronx. And they were nice-sized buildings, you know. He bought it in the early 80s when you better stay out. And there were 20, 30-unit properties. He got them for pennies on a dollar from the city. It was a time to get into it, but tough time. And my father was the type of person who can only work with his hands. But he managed to hold on, make some money, never any debt on them. And I always told him that I wanted to be in the business. I wanted to be in the business, but it never worked out. And I was in supermarkets. That's what I started my way up, from porter to somebody who was less than a porter. Breaking boxes, bailing boxes, roaches, water bugs, rats, mice, you name it. They were attacking me on a daily. But I worked my way up to a manager. And then I saw an opportunity to get into real estate, and I did. I took it in a hot second, and here it is.
How patient did you have to be going through when you started in supermarkets, putting away money, the discipline that you needed to put away money to get you ready for that opportunity that you seeked?
Well,
because a lot of people don't have the patience or the discipline nowadays.
Real estate is a business of patience. If you don't have patience in real estate, you're in the wrong business. You need patience. Don't believe all the hype. Oh, you're going to buy a property, you're going to make money day one. No, the only way you make money, start off making money day one, is by paying the right price. If you pay the right price, you're making your first dollars at the closing table. That's where the money is made. And you'll recognize, after being in the business for X amount of years, you will recognize not overpaying will be the gift that keeps on giving for many, 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 many years to come while you own that property. It will always work in your favor.
Have you ever overpaid for a property, given the fact that you love the property and you probably saw the potential it would have within 5, 10 years, 20 years?
Love? I love my wife. I love my kids. I don't love my real estate because it's a means to an end. That's all it is. Okay. Would I have overpaid? I never have. Now, there are a couple of pieces of property that are in particular blocks that I own. So if one of them were to open up and I had to overpay for it, then I'd overpay a little bit. But that's a means to an end also, because something bigger and better is coming. That property being there, not me owning it, is a challenge for me. So I have to get it because it satisfies the plan I have for the block.
you preach a lot to buy within your neighborhood, because you have all these people that, you know, get on social media and they try to say, hey, you know, you could buy a deal here, you could buy a deal here, you know, in different states. And can you explain how important it is to buy where you're at, in the sense of knowing your market before you go invest somewhere else that you don't even know?
That is a multiple answer question. So if you allow me, I'll answer it in many different ways. Number one, are you managing the property yourself? Are you new to the business? If you're new to the business, you better be close to your property. Because if you're expecting a management company to run to your property every time there's a problem, you're never going to make a dollar. You're not going to make money, because every time their phone rings, it's a night call, it's a day call, it's a problem call. It's nothing but headaches, not for you, for them. It then becomes your headache at the end of the year and wonder where all your money is. So if you don't know how to fix things, why would you get into a business that you're not learning or not intimately involved with? I've heard horror stories where management companies are saying an apartment is empty. Meanwhile, they're renting and keeping the money. I've heard these. These are crimes that actually happen. Now, are you equipped to recognize if that's happening? Because if you've got nothing to do with your property, then I could tell you you're not. Now, you want your properties to be condensed. You want to be able to get to your properties. You want to see what's going on. Why would you, new to the business, live in New York, buy a property in Philly, and then expect to know what's happening there? You're going to go back and forth every time it rains, every time it snows? What are you going to do, go there and shovel snow in the middle of December? Come on, man. It just doesn't work. Yeah. It does not work. So now you hire a management company. Management company, after a half-hour conversation, knows you're green, and the register starts ringing. Ching, 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 ching. They know that you don't know. And what you don't know is all opportunity for them.
That's exactly true.
Yeah.
That's true. How about, you know, there's one thing that you also stand by is try to buy your whole neighborhood, buy the whole block, because that way you'll end up setting the price down the road, down the future. You know, that to me, it struck a light bulb. I was like, man, he's absolutely right. You know, if you end up buying houses or buying apartment buildings down your neighborhood block, at the end of the day, you'll own the whole block, and you'll be able to somewhat, I don't know how it is in New York, but at least down here, I think in New York there's that rent control, right?
Yes.
That you can't, and they were trying to pass that down here in Miami because of all the expensive rents. But how is that in New York? If you own the whole block, is there just a certain...
Okay, so first of all, you have rent control, rent stabilization. So rent stabilization is going to tell you, the landlord, how much you can increase the rent annually on renewals. So owning the block has nothing to do with that. That is a year type of thing. You bought a property, it's new construction, you're in it for 1 year, you have the ability to be a free market apartment. You know, okay, they have free market and then rent stabilized. I want to stay far away from rent stabilized because I want to be able to rent my apartments for what I feel they're worth. Now, owning the block, you know, there was this bozo who made a post about me saying, you can't do that. You believe this guy, blah, blah, blah. Well, when you have an apartment complex, who sets the rent? Who sets the market in your complex? You do. You're the owner. You're the manager. It's your place. It's your rent. You rent it out. You set that price. Now, if you overprice it, you'll have empties. If you underprice it, you will have full occupancy. If you're just right, you will have average vacancy rates. Okay, maybe 2, 3 people moving and coming and going. So even owning 10 buildings on a block, now You can dictate what happens on that street. You can dictate how clean that street is kept, how all those buildings meld into each other, okay? How you take care of them, how much demand you create for that block, for people to live there. Then what are you doing? By doing that, you're setting the market. So it does help. Now, that's not saying you're gonna go into a neighborhood and bounce the numbers through the roof, because now you're gonna sit with all vacancies. Nobody's gonna come and live there. You know, it changing a neighborhood starts one block at a time. And when I say change a neighborhood, I don't mean gentrification, get rid of who is there and bring in new. That's not what I'm saying. What I mean by changing a neighborhood is getting the people to love where they live, get them to respect where they are, to be happy to live there. Now, of course, you're never going to make everybody happy. And the second somebody falls behind and stops paying you rent, guess who the bad guy is?
You are.
You could give them the best place in the world to live, but now it's your fault they can't pay the rent, so they hate you forever. It's just the way it is. You're never going to make everybody happy in this business. And know this, whenever somebody has a problem, rest assured, they make it yours.
Yeah, I agree with you. Do you think that it's important to be involved in, you know, with the city when you're making these big purchases, you know, donating to local politicians? Do you agree with stuff like that or no? Because sometimes they could help you out, having the right network within the city. If you're trying to pull permits, if you're trying to, you know, do certain things, what is your what is your perspective on that?
I'm a businessman in an area. You know, I'm going to be careful how I answer that, because each municipality is different and it comes with its own personality. You're not going to make everybody in that municipality love you. And chances are, once people get to know you, they may or may not like you. So then, will that help you or hurt you? They see you doing certain things, jealousy enters the equation, then what? You don't know what their mindset is. Now they know you, they see you live a certain way. Now what? Things take longer than normal. Shit like that. Believe me, I personally stay out of it. I am nowhere near it. If I need a permit, I go apply for a permit. I don't stop by to have coffee and break bread. Nope. Now, there's plenty of people who do that. Yeah. Okay? I keep everything at triple arm's length. I don't want to deal with people in the municipality. I'll only deal with them on a need basis. I need to get a building permit. I go see them. And I don't even do it. Somebody in my office will do it. But that is the relationship I have and I keep with them.
As you were growing your portfolio, how important is it to build a team around you?
It's everything.
To help you, and not only just manage, but also help you find those deals as well.
Your team is everything to help with the growth of your business. If you think you're going to do it all by yourself, you failed from the start. This is not a business for self. This is a business where you have to have a team. Starting with acquisition, you need to have an attorney. You need to have an accountant. And when I say an attorney and an accountant, you're not using an attorney who you find on the corner who does a little bit of everything but that is good at nothing. Those are not the attorneys you need. You need a transactional real estate attorney, somebody who knows what to do, how to negotiate, what to get into loan docs, okay? Because there are so many different things in loan docs. If you don't have a qualified attorney, somebody who's used to closing commercial deals, you get nowhere. You'll leave so much shit on the table that will bite you later. For example, in New York, we have this thing, and we might be the only state that has it. We have this thing called the SEMA. SEMA is chain of custody of the mortgage, right? When you take out a mortgage, when you refi that mortgage, let's say you cash out, SEMA will protect you from paying the full tax on the full amount of money. Let's say you do a $5 million loan when you buy the place. Okay, you have a $5 million mortgage. Mm-hmm. You get that SEMA. 5 years later, you take out a $7 million mortgage. If you don't have the SEMA, you're going to wind up having to pay mortgage tax on the full $7 million. If you have a SEMA, you only pay tax on the $2 million.
On the two. Oh.
Yeah, only on the new money, because you already paid tax on the old money. So now you only pay it on the new money. These are things, if you don't have a proper attorney, you're not going to get those in your commitment. Those will not be negotiated on your behalf in the commitment. Now, if you don't have it, what do you think is going to happen? The bank knows it has something valuable. So you think they're just going to give it away when you go to refi? If you don't refi again with them, if you take the money to a different bank, they're going to say, okay, listen, you're going to have $10,000 due, just making up a rough number. But we'll sell you the SEMA for $3,000. You see? These are things that you can't, mistakes you cannot make because they cost you money. In real estate, you better know one thing. Mistakes are expensive. Keep them to a minimum. Accountant. If you don't have an accountant who's used to dealing with real estate, what do you think is going to happen? You're never going to get the full benefit of owning the real estate. So you better have somebody who knows the industry. And then you want good supers. You want good people in your office. When I say supers, a lot of people hammered me because I said the word super. Well, that's what they are.
That's what they are.
I've got so many years in the industry. That's what we called them back then. That's what I call
down
them
here,
today.
Maintenance supervisor.
Yeah, maintenance supervisor. Oh, God, it's maintenance supervisor. You know what? It's a super. Okay? Superintendent, he runs your building. If you don't have a good one, you're going to have a bad building. You're going to have problems because owning real estate is a problem. And they always pop up. Middle of the night, toilet gets overrun. Before you know it, who they calling? You or the super? They're calling the super because it's not even that it's running into their apartment. They don't give a shit. It's running into the apartment below, and the tenant below wants to know why it's raining in their bathroom. Well, because somebody overflowed the toilet upstairs. So they're going to call the super. If you don't have a good super, he's not going to show up on the job or know how to fix it. So you have to make sure you have that. From beginning to end, your people better be first rate. They better know how to do their job. The property managers have to know how to do their job. Now, you also need a good agent, a good broker, right? Number one, you need a good mortgage broker because you want the mortgages to come through seamlessly.
Easy.
Right? Yeah.
Easy process.
Right. You don't want, you want to know what packages are out there, what's available, what bank is doing what. These are the things you need to know. Who's offering proceeds? Who's offering more proceeds than somebody else? These are the things you want to know going in. You want to have these people on your team. Hey, so-and-so, I need this. You got it. Let's see what we can do. Let's get the numbers. Let's call the bank. We'll send them a package and see what they say.
But building that relationship with the broker, with the mortgage broker, comes with obviously doing transactions.
Yes.
And in the beginning, you may not get the best deal, but I guess with time, the more business you throw their way, you start to build that relationship, you start to build that rapport, because it's going to be very hard from the beginning to just, have them have your back.
Well, let me say this. A good guy, a good girl in the business, somebody with a reputation will always have your back. Why? Because they know there's a possibility for a future relationship. They know there's a lot of money to be made. They want you as a customer forever. If they're new to the business and don't know shit, well, then they're only going to look for the quick buck and get out. But if there's somebody who's been in this industry for a long time, they see the potential for a future relationship, they're going to do the best that they can. I don't want to deal with people who are one and done. Get out of here. I don't need you. One-hit wonders? No, I don't need you. If you're not here to stick around for the long term, keep it moving.
Do you do your own due diligence or does your team does it?
I do it. I do it.
Do you have, if I'm not mistaken, I think you have some kind of software, right? That you are trying to, I guess, in your own community now, trying to get people and say, hey, look, you know what? If you join my community, you're going to be able to take advantage of this software. Right. How important is it to have a software that tells you if you buy at this is, however you have it structured, how important is it to have that tool in your back pocket?
Okay. So, number one, when buying a piece of real estate, you should know the market you're buying in. You should know the type of real estate you're looking for. Don't just buy real estate because it's for sale. Buy a real estate because it's a good deal. And that good deal starts with getting the setup, all right? Or what everybody calls the offering memorandum. I just call it a setup. It's a property setup, all right? They send it to me. I know the market. I'll know the market they're sending it to. And if it's out of the state I live in, if it's out of my geographic ring, then I don't even bother with it. But if it's in my ring where I always buy, I know everything about that market. I know what's happening, where it's happening, what the best deal is. I know what the GRM is for that neighborhood, gross rent multiplier. So right off the bat, all I have to do is look at the first couple of sentences of the setup, and I know what's going on. Then I have my property evaluation calculator, which is not something with a million different lines. It's not something fancy. It gives me the numbers I need.
Simple.
I keep it simple. I keep it stupid. I don't want to go bananas. I know everything else. I just want these numbers plugged in. What is my cash on cash? What is my cap rate? What is my GRM? Okay? And what are those numbers after a given period of time? So I plug them in. I look. This is dead. What I need to do is get the property for this amount. Here, for example, I looked at a piece of property, 90 million. I threw the numbers in my calculator. The property did not make money until it got to 45 million.
Look at that.
So why in the world would I buy it? I'm a small buyer. I don't go out and syndicate deals. It's my money, it's my brother's money, and that's what we invest. All right? If I can't afford it, I can't afford it. And I'm certainly not one of these guys who's going to go out, buy a piece of real estate and hope for the best. No. If it doesn't
So you lose money.
Yeah, if it doesn't make sense day one, I don't buy it. Keep it. You got it. It's your property. Love it up. I don't want it. So I throw it into my calculator. If it meets my criteria, then I take a Google walk. I go and look around, see what's going on. Do I see graffiti everywhere? What do I see? I look at the cars. What kind of cars are there? Are the cars all beat up? I look at the property. I look at the windows. Are there towels and sheets hanging from the windows instead of blinds? Because now I know it's not an A property. It's a C property at best. Now, is it worth it? No. Do I want it? No. That's it, because we're done with the C's. We want A's. So it's something before I even leave my door. I already made up my mind whether I want that property or not, number one. Number two, what I'm going to pay for it. And remember, you're never going to get the right story, okay? You're going to get any kind of story that will get you and keep you interested in a piece of real estate.
That's how it is.
Yeah, man. Yeah, look, there's a lot of money to be made in this industry. You got to know, where there's a lot of money to be made, there's a lot of money to be lost, and there's certainly a lot of money to be stolen. So be careful.
Can you explain, because that term, GRM, I heard it first with you.
Okay.
And explain how or why you purchase off of GRM and not off of cap rate. Because a lot of people, they love to throw the cap rate out there to grab your attention, but I agree with you. GRM is the way.
Yeah. So, okay. So GRM stands for gross rent multiplier. That winds up coming down to how many times the annual rent roll are you paying for that property? So now, think about that. Your cap rate, if it's a high GRM, that means you have a low cap rate, okay? That means you're making less money on the property. High cap rate equals low GRM. Now, let me change that. High cap rate, for me, is not a measure of how much money I'm making. It's a measure of how much risk am I assuming. Is this property in my risk level? Is it above my risk comfort level? I have to look at it. If it's a C property, I don't want it, because what's going to happen? Now I'm chasing my money. Those days are over. I'm not going to go out of my way to go nuts chasing my money. It's not going to happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen in A properties or B properties, You know, it does happen. But I just am done with the properties themselves require more maintenance.
Exactly.
You know, it's
You'll end up spending more money.
yes.
So as soon as the tenant moves out, or if the tenant has to get evicted, once you go in there, you're going to dump more money into it.
Yes.
And it just ends up costing you more money.
That's right. There's far more turnover. Now, the reason why it's a higher cap rate, most people would look at it because they know it's a C property. They know there's an upside. There's the potential to make more money. In my book, the potential is there to make more money, but to what end? I mean, you've got how much risk are you taking? How many vacancies? Is the vacancy rate on that property going to hurt your end of year number? Are you going to be then operating in the black or the red? What's going to happen to your NOI? I used to know, like when I was starting out in New York, I used to know the GRMs for most neighborhoods. Like Bronx, back then, I knew the Bronx was a 5 GRM, a 6 GRM. I knew the cap rates for the Bronx were 7, 8%. I knew these numbers prices were lower, and you were dealing with a higher cap rate. You know, a higher cap rate, so you were going to be assuming more risk. Nothing like today. But you would be assuming more risk, so your GRM would have been lower, say a 5, and you could have gone in there if you had the patience, if you had the balls to go in there and fight for your money. Well, then you go in there and fight. You would have made money. But again, you got to buy right.
And you have to be patient to wait until...
Yeah. That's why, you know, I see these guys. They're going out preaching. Just buy. Just buy. No.
That's the way you get fucked.
That's right. Man, royally. I keep telling people all the time about this one deal. 7.7 million comes across my desk. 8 years ago, the guy paid 15.8 million. Could you imagine the fuckery that took place for him to lose $8 million? Could you imagine how much he overpaid for that property for him to lose $1 million a year? It's mind-blowing. So now he owed 7.7, he owed 8.3. He was pulling $500,000 out of his pocket to do an equity pay down. Think about that shit. Think about, it's like a boater. What are the 2 happiest days of a boater's life?
The day you buy, the day you sell it.
Right. That building, he's a boater, okay? Because he was happy when he bought it, and now he wants to sell it. He can only be happy.
But what do you think happened there? You think it's because he did buy high, but maybe, because this is the thing now that's new now, all interest rate, all this, all that, you know? So they bought high thinking that he was either be able to refinance the property, or they sold him some kind of story saying, hey, within the next 5 years, you'll be able to flip out of it. What?
Wasn't a flipper. The guy's a holder. Okay. I don't know the guy, but I know the broker. And the way this deal went down was he overpaid. He bought it in a market. Listen, I would love to own in that market. Okay. He bought it in a market that is definitely up and coming. And you could see it. However, it didn't happen fast enough. So what happens? He bought with a low rate. He overpaid. Mistake, mistake, mistake. Now, 5-year balloon comes due. Now he's got to refi out and change it. Banks, no, they're not playing that game. If you are not coming in with your DSCR on there, you're not getting the money. It's just that simple, okay? So they would not give him the proceeds he needs. Now he's in trouble. He's got to get out because rates are high. He bought with a low rate and paid a high price. Now he's got a high rate. What's he going to do? It's not cash flowing. The bank don't even want to look at him. He's praying to get out. Same thing with this $90 million building I looked at. That guy was dying to get out. He's going to lose it. That is the biggest problem taking place right now.
Yep.
Bad debt.
And I think it happened all during COVID, during 2020, because a lot of people, especially down here in South Florida, in Miami especially, have a couple clients that I think fall in that category. And they bought very high. Interest rates were somewhat low, but now that the rates have gone up, they bought high. They can't refi. It's not, and the property hasn't cash flowed.
Nope.
It's because they threw out all these incentives out there because it was a fairly new building. Threw all the incentives, and guess what happens? All the tenants start moving out because the incentives are done. They don't want to renew. The rent skyrocket, and now they're having a cash flow issue.
Yes.
And now what happens? They either have to suck it up, dump more money out of their pocket, or try to sell it, which is going to be horrible because they're going to lose money, or start finding other investors to start dumping more money into it.
See, here's the thing.
Or hopefully the feds, because I think the feds now, I think they mentioned they're going to cut rates again.
Ain't gonna save them.
But, and it's tough. It's tough. Like, what do you do in that sense? What do you do? Do you just cut your losses, or do you, still keep investing money into the property?
To what end? To what end? You're already upside down. See, here's the problem. If you overpay, you play catch up. You don't appreciate from the number you overpaid from. You appreciate from the average price that the property should have been. So if you bought a property for $10 million, but the property was in a high market and you should have only paid $5 million, when the market settles, you think you're appreciating from $10 million because you were foolish enough to pay $10 million? No. You appreciate from where the number should have been. So if you should have appreciated, let's say, $3 million, you wouldn't have been $13 million. You should actually be $8 million. So you play catch up on the deal. You never appreciate from where you bought. That's subjective, man. That doesn't work. Those numbers don't work. Property is only worth what somebody's willing to pay for you or what the bank is willing to loan you. People ask me all the time, Paul, what's your property worth? I don't know. What's it worth? You want to buy it? What do you want to pay? Because that's what it's worth. Whatever somebody's willing to pay is only what my property is worth. Now, all these, Jesus, you got social media. It's one of the biggest killers for this market. For real estate, is one of the biggest money losers.
They're just grabbing people to dump money into these funds and just stealing people's money.
Yeah, but let me help that one out. I've been doing this now, social media thing, for say 3 years. And there's a reason why I started. The reason I started was because I saw so much bad information being thrown at people. I saw so many people, futures going to be destroyed, because what were they being taught? They were being taught and told, buy it. Don't worry about the price. Don't worry about the
interest rate.
Yes. Don't worry about the price. Date the rate, marry the property.
Yep.
Okay? So, yes, the interest rate is going to float. However, if you overpay,
you're fucked.
You are royally fucked. So now, buy it. Don't worry. Buy it. Rates are low. You can afford to. You're going to get upside. There's no guarantee you're going to get upside.
No. You bought high.
Where is that coming from? Rates go. I remember having a conversation with somebody who used to be
in
big.
The 80s. So, what were the rates in the 80s?
The first property I ever bought was 18%.
And people are scared of 6-7%.
Yeah.
To me, that's healthy.
The average interest
for the economy right now, the way the economy is, it's healthy.
Average interest rate should be 7 to 8%. That is the 20-year average interest rate. You can't go back now on this 20-year rate because it was kept artificially low for the last 20 years. So you can't use that. But if you go behind that, then that was the average rate. Every time I underwrite a property, even to this day, 8%. Only 8%. Why? Because I know that's what the rates should be, can be, will be, settled down to be. Now, you had these two guys out there preaching, buy it, just buy it, just buy it. Meanwhile, they had their finger on every piece of that market. They were the two big ones at the time. They're winding up going to the can, the two of them, but still, you know what, for fraud and some other bullshit. But you know what? People were buying into their nonsense. They were buying into it like real estate was the golden ticket. You just buy it. You don't have to worry about the price. The rents are going to be there. Don't
You'll become
worry
rich.
about it.
You'll become rich.
It's the golden ticket. No, you don't need to know how to run. Yes, you do need to know how to run a piece of property. So I remember one of my friends coming back to me. Said, Paul, I went to their seminar. I was like, stop being fucking stupid. What's wrong with you? You want to buy real estate? Just talk to me. I'm here to help you.
Well, I want to touch that subject, Paul, because I think that something that gravitated towards me and probably gravitated to a lot of people is the authenticity that you have. And down here in South Florida, there's a stigmatism. There's a lot of fake people down here.
No.
There's a lot of fake people down here. No. And it's the authentic. Being so authentic is what gravitates people towards you. You're a straight shooter. And I think that there's an opportunity for you in this market, especially down here in South Florida, to host an event, but not with all the glamour and all that stuff that people are trying to do. Is to really, if you're really interested in getting into real estate and learning, how to really make money. And it's not a quick rich scheme thing. But you're gonna get rich for sure on the long term and build generational wealth long term. Past you, your kids, your grandkids, and so on.
But if you've watched these guys, and clearly you have because you're making this comment, what were the hook words? Passive income, generational wealth.
That's it.
Passive income, there's nothing passive about real estate unless you're investing in a fund. Okay? Generational wealth. If you don't know how to protect yourself from the very beginning, I did that video. Real estate is like sex. If you don't protect yourself from the very beginning, you will be fucked at the end. And that is the God's honest truth, because not protecting yourself can lead to big problems for your family. You think everything you make you're going to leave to your family and it's all going to go smooth and beautiful? No, not if you didn't set yourself up right.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
A lot of people just buy stuff. They put stuff they don't even open up an LLC, no kind of trust, nothing. And by the time you know, they pass away, goes to probate.
Yep.
And that's it. That's it. Your family is done.
Yeah.
They have to fight with the courts, try to get your property, try to get all this stuff. It's very common. It's very common.
It happens all the time because people don't know.
It's very common. Would you say that there's a water there for you if you want, Paul?
No.
Would you say that? Would you prefer to own 100 single-family homes or one single property that has 100 doors?
Okay. I don't measure a property by the doors. I measure a property by the income. Density is important, but how many doors it have, for me, is unimportant. I would much rather have 100 units under 100 by 100 lot going up 6-10 stories than I would having 100 units spread all around town where I got to pick my ass up every fucking morning when it snows, garbage day, this day, that day, go check, go see, go this, go that. No, I don't want that shit. If you're doing this on a house-by-house basis, you don't know how to get into multifamily. You don't know how to get out. It's so much more difficult to grow. Yeah, you've established X amount of wealth by doing that. However, man, you've burdened yourself. Yes, you have wealth. Good for you. But now what? You want to do a refi. You're doing a refi on one door because, if you don't have all those properties under their own LLC, you risk exposure. So now you're exposing all of your properties if they're under one LLC. And if you have them under 100 different LLCs, your accountant is going to go fucking bananas. And think about how much it costs to do the taxes. Okay? Now, every property is its own business. Every business has to do its taxes.
To counter that. So why do you think Blackstone, BlackRock are buying all these single-family homes?
I don't know what's in their head. You know what? They're a lot smarter than I am. I hope. I would think they've gotten it.
Do you think it's because most of the people, they're still being sold that American dream to have that white picket fence, having a single family instead of living in a condo?
Well, condo today is a nightmare. You know, a condo to me is, for example, okay? My wife and I have this conversation all the time. What would you do, God forbid, I croak tomorrow? You can't keep the house. It's too much maintenance. Sell the house, buy a condo. because you just want to pull in and pull out. You don't want to have to start dealing with bullshit, maintenance, and all that nonsense. You want to get yourself into a nice condo. Condo is good for people like that, starting. Or somebody who comes from something bigger who doesn't want to deal with that nonsense of owning such a big house. Not that my house is so big, but of owning a big house that's going to be more labor intensive.
What I was trying to get at is people prefer to rent a single family home than to rent an apartment.
Well,
that's why I think BlackRock, Blackstone are purchasing all these single families, because it's a family. In other aspect, families want that space, want that backyard, want to have that barbecue. They're still being sold the American dream.
yes, of course. I mean, if COVID taught us one thing, space is important. Okay, room is important. If you lived in a 300 square foot apartment during COVID, man, I would imagine you wanted to jump out the window every 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay, but if you rented a house with 3-4 bedrooms where you had an opportunity to get away from the people in your house and just have some alone time, some place with a yard, maybe a pool, maybe this, maybe that, I don't know, but you would have much rather wanted that. So COVID, if it did one thing, it pulled people out of the big metropolis, the cramped space, and moved them to more of a green space location. So why BlackRock is buying the homes? Don't know. You know, there's, of course, you have all these people talking about all these theories about why they're doing it. I don't know why they're doing it. It's their business model. Have at it. Have fun. But would I buy 100 single family homes? Not on your life. I don't want it. Now what are you going to do? Hire a management company? Management company on a single family home does not charge you by the rent roll. They charge you by the parcel. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now 100 of them at $500 a night is going to be a lot more at $500 each house per month. It's going to be a lot more money than that same 100-unit property under a 100 by 100 lot going up 6 stories. A lot more, because it's more labor intensive.
I think today's younger generation, I could consider myself probably part of that. They want to live in places that everything is more accessible to them. They could just walk to places. And that's why I see down here in South Florida, there's so many either condos or right now a lot of apartment buildings being built because of that. You have the bottom, all commercial space, rent out, and then everything else is apartments. What's your outtake?
My outtake on Florida in general, it's a shit waiting to happen. Okay? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Florida is always the tip of the sword in the bad market. What you see happen here, you will soon see happening throughout the country. Look at me, the perfect example. Right after COVID, where'd I come? Down to Florida. It took me a year and a half to figure out it's not for me.
Why? In what sense?
Well, I didn't like the weather. I can't deal with just being here the last 4 days. I've washed my car 5 times. Are you kidding me? That is shit I can't put up with. Now, traffic everywhere.
Well, that's because you're probably down in but out here out west where we're at, you'll love this area here, especially Southwest Ranches. I see you in this kind of vibe here. You know, Southwest Ranches is growing very big.
Yeah, see?
Very big.
I want to get out of it. I want to get away from big. Stick me on a farm with some horses, I'm as happy as a pig in shit. I don't need the big, beautiful home. I don't need that. I just need to be comfortable in what I have. Now, Florida was so overpriced. Everybody buying condo, buying condo, buying condo. I didn't buy a condo.
Look at them now.
Yeah. Okay, and I
I
told people this shit was going to happen. Then, what happened?
What happened was that building fell.
Right, but...
And then from there, it just opened the can of worms to a lot of things. And now you have all these condos up for sale and they can't even sell.
But it's
HOA's going up, taxes gone up,
yes.
Insurance gone up.
Yeah, but it's been... Before these were in the picture, it was other things. You know, people were always coming down to Florida. About 10 years ago, you know what they call people who move down to Florida from north and then can't take the temperature? You know where they go?
Where?
South Carolina. You know what they call them?
No.
Halfbacks.
Halfbacks?
Halfbacks. Because they moved from the north, they moved to Florida. They couldn't take it in Florida. They moved halfway back.
Halfway back. Halfbacks.
Okay? Halfbacks. So
That's another market, too, that's growing, too. South
it
Carolina.
is, because look at all the people who moved here. Now they're
South
moving out of here. They
Carolina.
can't get out of here fast enough.
South Carolina is growing big. But a lot of New Yorkers are in West Palm. West Palm is growing big with a lot of New Yorkers.
Yeah, let it get hit with one hurricane. You'll
You
see
think
them
it'll be gone?
fly out of here.
It will be gone. I don't know, man. I think Florida, definitely the market has gone up drastically ever since COVID. A lot of people can't even afford to live down here.
They can't afford to live down here because prices have been driven up so high. But wait until vacancy rate hits.
It's
Listen,
already hitting. It's already hitting.
right?
And there's going to be
So
a lot
what's
of
gonna happen?
there's going to be a lot of apartment buildings
right.
that are being converted to condos now.
That's right. And what's going to happen with the condo market? People ain't going to buy them. Why? Because they're not going to be able to afford them. $1 million condo with an HOA that's $10,000 a month, $15,000 a month.
That's what they're trying to sell now. Luxury
Yeah,
condo.
luxury condos with all that good shit they're giving you. But you know what? You pay for that. And what happens to the people who now get all the hit with all the special assessments? If it's not a special assessment because it's a new building, they still have to have 100% of the budget in reserves.
And they don't.
Exactly.
And they don't.
Exactly. So that's a problem.
And they
Think
don't.
about, you moved here from New York. You moved, and I say New York because I'm from New York. You moved here from New York.
To retire. Or you're just
No, I
moving.
didn't.
Or
I
just
didn't.
moving.
I just came here
Okay.
because I wanted to come here, come and go, just relax.
Okay.
And deal with the traffic, deal with the weather. Super expensive down here. Super expensive. I don't care if you have money, you don't have money. It's very expensive to live here. Then you get hit with all these stupid rules and regulations, which maybe they are, maybe they aren't. If you're in an older building, then that building deserves to be inspected. It needs to be inspected because you don't need another building to go down. You don't need people to get hurt. But did you think about that when you spent your retirement money to come down here thinking you were going to buy a nice condo and spend the rest of your years, and then all of a sudden, because the agent didn't tell you that this new rule was in effect and they were going to be doing this. They didn't tell you about special assessments. And because you don't have an attorney representing you when you close, you have nobody who is their duty to tell you this. This is shit you need to find out.
Or you have those realtors that don't even care about you and just sell you the property.
That's what I'm
They're just
getting
worried
at.
about their commission and
That's
that's
what
it.
I'm getting
And that's
at.
happening a lot down here in South
Yes,
Florida.
that's what I'm getting at.
They just want the
now,
money and that's it. They don't care.
It's a dog-eat-dog world. They just want to make the dollar. So are they telling you that special assessments are coming up? I don't know. Maybe they have to by law. Maybe they don't. I don't know either way. But are they telling you, let's say in the last 2 years, were they telling you that they were going to flip the script and start charging you an assessment for a bigger budget so you can match your HOA budget? Were they telling you that a new law was coming into play where they were going to inspect your building, and when they did the inspection and they have to fix it, that's a special assessment? Because I guarantee you, if they told you that, you would not have bitten the bullet. You would not have bought here.
I want to touch this because you preach this a lot as well. Buying real estate with no money is unheard of, right? And all these people are pushing that. But there is some people, and I think my concept is, I was talking earlier with Eli, is basically what they're not telling you is that, yeah, you're not buying the real estate with no money. Is that, yeah, you find the real estate, but you have to find the person with the money to purchase the real estate and somehow include you in the deal, and hopefully you don't get missed out. What's your perspective on that? Because that's a big thing now.
It is a big thing.
It's a big thing now. You don't need money to buy real estate.
Listen,
Find the deal and bring me the deal, and you'll be an investor.
And I'm supposed to cut you in on a deal.
Yep.
Yeah, no. Okay? I don't operate like that. Do I think you should operate like that? If it was you coming to me with a deal like that, I'd be like, do you know the person who will give you the money? Do you know that person? How much do you trust them? Because now it's got to be papered up. You need the right lawyer to put that deal together, to make sure you don't get hit over the head later on.
To cover your ass.
Yeah. What happens to you? Does he get you out of the deal? Does the deal become so lucrative for him, now he cuts you out? Listen, this is the shit that takes place in this neighborhood. Leverage, never leverage more than 75%. Shame on you if you do that, okay? Leverage could be your friend. It can give you the biggest, most beautiful growth that you could ever imagine. But it could put you out of business in a hot second. All it takes is a property that didn't grow the way you thought it was going to grow. You not being able to cash flow. Can't refi out. Shit hits the fan, you're done. Okay? It will be the worst day of your life. If you leverage more than 75%, shame on you. Period. I mean, I know people who make millions, who become super wealthy by preaching and teaching this. I'd love to know how many of those people are successful. Okay?
What's the return?
I want to know how many of them actually are successful at it. But you know what? All you need is a believable face and a good story.
That's it.
And people will flock to you. You know what? Now, let me say this. If I know somebody who has a property for sale and they have no mortgage on the property, and I could buy it from them and let them hold paper, I'd do that. Why not? Now, if I know that same somebody has a piece of property for sale and they have a mortgage on the property, would I do that? Absolutely not. Because now
there's a mortgage. There's somebody else to do
right,
with.
Now there's two mortgages I have. I'm 100% levered, even though the other way I'm 100% levered. However, I'm not overpaying. I would definitely not overpay. I would make a deal that benefits me 1,000%. The first property I ever bought, I bought from my father. He held paper. That was it. You know, he held the note. My brother and I paid him off. That was it. Had no mortgage on the property. Beautiful thing.
How important is it right now to create that discipline of saving money? Because a lot of people now, they think that they could just buy this stuff with no money or you need to come into the game with skin in the game. You have to have money. Buying this stuff, at 5% and this and trying to, do all this stuff. No, it's like you said, 75% leverage. You got to come at least 25, 30% in,
right,
and to minimize the risk.
You have to control your exposure. Now, exposure comes to you in many different ways. One of them is through debt. If you over-leverage yourself, you put yourself in a losing position from the very beginning. If you bought a piece of property off of pro forma rent roll, and that's somebody telling you you're going to get this much. If you're able to raise the rent, you can get this much. I remember I'm filming one day, and I'm on a friend of mine's boat. Actually, Eli, you were there. And the owner of the boat was right there. And he was doing something downstairs on the dock. And we were upstairs on the top deck. And I said, never buy off pro forma. And he screamed up. He says, Paul, I never saw a pro forma I didn't love.
Yeah.
Think of that, okay? That is 1,000% truth. It's designed to do that.
To hook you in.
It's a hook.
It's a hook
It's
to
a
hook
hook.
you in.
Generational wealth, a hook. Passive income,
a hook.
A hook. All these things are hooks to get you to lay down your common sense. Listen, if something stinks like shit, it's probably shit. All right? So just exercise a little common sense when you evaluate a piece of property. And if it doesn't work and it doesn't make sense, don't force it. And you know what? They buy properties through pro forma thinking they're going to make it work. And then what do? They go and throw they'll go and throw a interest-only loan to make it even sweeter.
And they get even more fucked.
No.
Yep.
You will pay the piper eventually. You don't want to do this shit. It's a straight, conventional mortgage. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. just be sensible. There's no deal that's so important that I have to buy. I don't need it. It has to make sense. And if I got to start bending over backwards to make it make sense, it's a bad deal.
But has that ever happened to you?
Nope.
At all?
Never. Because I've always approached a purchase sensibly. You know,
Not with mood, not the way you feel. It's just all.
I told you before,
Yeah.
I love my wife and my kids. Everything else is something in my life. That's it. I don't need it. It could disappear tomorrow and my fucking day would move on. My family and my kids is what I need.
Two things that I want to touch before we wrap things up. You buy and hold. That's your thing, and I agree with you on that. Buy and hold. Cash out refi. Can you explain a little bit so people could kind of understand what that is? What, because they hear it all the time, but they don't really
They don't know.
understand.
Right.
They don't know. You know, if you could at least, not to make it long, but just to kind of, dive a little into that. As far as what do you mean by that?
All right. So you buy a piece of property. You don't overpay. So let's say this property is a $5 million property. Let's say you're in a 7 times the rent roll market, but you had the opportunity to get that property for 5 times the rent roll. You got a deal. You made money at the table. 5 years, the loans that I take on real estate are 5 years. They balloon in 5. They're conventional mortgages. They're not floating rates. They're fixed rates. Everything is simple, stupid. Now, 5 years, you have to refi out that balloon. But, you see, we can get into the weeds on this. Also, for that full 5 years that you're making the mortgage payments, you're also paying what they call principal payments. It's your money being put, let's say the bank gives you a loan. The bank is giving you the loan. The bank is holding X amount of bricks. Every month you make a mortgage payment. It consists of interest, and that's the expense. And then mortgage,
principal.
That principal, when you make that payment, every payment you make towards principal, the bank gives you a brick back. A brick. Every payment is another brick. You take that brick, you stick it back in the building. All right? It comes in the form of money. So now, at the end of 5 years, when this loan comes due, you've got all those big, beautiful, shiny bricks back in the building that you could do what with? Take them, give them back to the bank for more money. So what you have is principal paid down. And when you're talking about big deals, hundreds, maybe millions of dollars, depends. So now you've appreciated. Now you appreciated over that time frame. Depending on the market you're in will determine what a casual appreciation rate is. Like in New York, in the area of New York that I'm in, it's a typical 3% appreciation rate. However, it's more because I paid right. I bought right. So that 3% rate can go up to 5-6% rate. Now, what happens at 5 or 6% appreciation? Now, upside. I bought the property low. There were low rents. Changed the tenancy, fixed the tenancy, raised the upside, got the money out. Now, that is more upside for me. That is more value. So what happens? The appreciation rate goes from now 6% to maybe 10%. So what's happening is this is elevating the value of the property. 5 years comes around, I've got to pay off this balloon and start the whole rodeo over again. Now, I go to the bank.
You refinance.
I refinance the mortgage. Pull out what the bank, you have to get an appraisal. The bank will give you an appraisal. If you bought right, you did all those things and they're working right, what happens? Now, that $5 million property you bought could come back with a value of $8 million. Okay? So maybe that, to keep the loan at 75% LTV, the bank will, let's say, give you now out of that $3 million, they'll give you, I don't know, another $1.5 million, maybe
So
$2
the
million.
bank is the one that decides
Of course.
to keep you there.
No, they don't decide
Or-
to keep
or-
you there.
Or do you have the option to cash out all the $3 million if you want?
Oh yeah, I could do
You have
that.
the option.
I could go to another bank
Yeah.
and just move that money to another bank. Depends
The
on
problem is that the rent there is not going to be able to pay off or it will.
Well, if you did it right, yeah, the
Okay,
bank
there
is
you go.
not going to give you the money if the property is not cash flowing. They don't just give you money based off of an appraisal. The property has to cash flow. The property has to come back with X amount of dollars. If it's not making X amount of dollars per annum, then they're not going to give you the money you're requesting. They will only give you that loan if you meet the criteria that they are looking for. So let's say we found ourselves $3 million in upside on this property. We added $3 million in value. You have $3 million in value, but the bank may not give you that full value. And it won't be three, it'll be maybe a million. Let's call it a simple million. All right? So now they won't give you the million because you're not cash flowing. You're not meeting their DSCRs, which, you know what, that's getting into the weeds. So we're going to stay out of that.
Yeah.
But now what happens? They won't give you the million. Maybe now they'll only give you $500,000. They'll give you something. They'll pay off the money that you owe to them.
The balloon.
And they'll start anew. And they'll give you maybe
$500,000
$500,000 because that's what you're cash flowing.
And then what people do, instead of buying that taking that $500,000 and buying a car, you should reinvest that into
buy another piece of property.
Another piece of property.
That's how you grow. That's the only way you grow in this property.
There's also
in this business.
Correct. I was taught that by a dear friend of mine. How about line of credit?
Don't use it. More debt.
More debt?
More debt. Don't need it.
Okay.
Keep reserves in the properties. Something goes wrong. Right, that's what my reserves are for. Okay. Don't need a line of credit. Why do I have to add more interest? Why do I have to destroy my expenses? Imagine I have a line of credit. They're charging me 7% on the line of credit, 8% on the line of credit. However, I have the money in the bank sitting there getting me 2%. If it's working in my property for a problem, I'd rather take the 2% money, put it back into the property where it's going to give me 8% on my value. Why would I keep it there for 2%, pay the bank 7%? Man, no. No, I'm not going to do it. I know I'm talking fast. I know there's going to be a lot of people who don't understand what I'm saying. But why would I use bad money when I have good money right there that I can deploy and put to work?
Because you would have to probably wait those 5 years. And the line of credit, they could pull once the property has some kind of equity. You could pull the money out right away, buy the property, refinance the property, and pay off your line of credit.
Well, here's the thing. It's not as simple sounds, because most lines of credit have what they call a cleanup period. So annually, you may have to clean it up depending on your bank. Mm-hmm. So if you've got a $500,000 line of credit and you wanted to use that money, they may have a cleanup period. It's important to read the docs. Even on a line of credit, let your lawyer close it. Okay? Let your lawyer look, because if they have a cleanup period and you've used $500,000 and now you have to come back annually and pay back that $500,000, where are you getting it from? Where are you getting it from? See, this is the shit that people don't know about the business. Everybody makes it sound simple.
That's why they have to reach out to you, Paul.
It is not so simple.
Because everybody's just in this whole facade. To wrap this up, because we've been going for quite some time, I have you mentioned that no more C class.
No.
All A's. Did you purchase any property within the time as far as buying those C class or B class and actually do a full rehab? Have you ever gone through that process of full rehab? No?
No.
Okay.
No.
You stay away from that.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
How about those mini rehabs that, let me just remodel the bathrooms, or let me remodel to bring up the rent roll?
Yeah, little things like that I'll do. However, you bring up your rent roll. Give me a number, my questions.
Correct. I know where you're going. I know where you're going at.
How much?
You're going to dump $10,000 to bring it up only $100 more a month.
How long is it taking you to get that $10,000 back?
I know.
Not to mention the downtime.
I see that all the time too. But I think you know what it is, that these are older properties that since everything is now more modern, the only way to keep those properties full is they need to do some kind of renovation.
Depends where they are. You're not picking up the building and turning it into an A property when it's a C. Ain't happening. You're not moving it down the road where all the A properties are. There's an ass for every seat. So make sure you know that you don't overbuild ever. Sometimes things can just be fixed with a coat of paint.
That's it.
Yeah. You know?
Simple stuff.
Yeah. And don't go nuts making all these apartments different colors and shit like that.
All simple. All same.
Simple. Keep it simple. Keep it stupid. Know your market and don't overbuild for it. Me, in rentals, I don't add things like granite and shit like that because I know what tenants have done.
Yeah, you've already, of course, they don't care.
Okay.
I see it all the time.
I've been in apartments where these apartments were beautiful.
As soon as the tenant moves out, destroyed.
You couldn't even see the beauty because they were fucking hoarders.
Yep.
So shit was everywhere. So the beautiful granite had nothing but boxes and shit and roaches and water bugs walking all over.
No, the worst is when you buy they move in, it's all brand new appliances.
Fuck it up.
And they all fuck it up.
Yeah.
They all fuck it up. Yeah, it's you see, I see it all the time. I see it all the time. And I tell myself, why? Why?
And if you don't have the heart, that'll kill you.
Yep.
Know it. If you don't
cannot
have the
take
heart,
it personal.
that will kill you. That's right.
Because that's a lot of people. They want a lot of new investors buy these properties and they want to put everything like if they were going to live in it. You can't. And that's a huge mistake that they make.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Nothing that, like you said, just a fresh coat of paint would fix and that's it.
I mean, you don't want people living like slobs, but you know what? You don't want them living like slobs. In other words, if you go into an apartment, you find shit everywhere. You can't take the apartment because it stinks so bad. You need a fucking mask when you walk in the door. Look, you gave them a nice apartment and they're complaining about the apartment they live in. This is the business you're in. Believe me when I tell you, man, I've got good tenants and I've got fucking horrible tenants. And I guarantee you, every one of my horrible tenants talks bad about me. Why? Because I'm the bad guy. I'm the guy making money off the rent. That where my money goes? You got a Rolls Royce? Think I don't hear that shit?
Do you pull up to the property?
Fuck no.
Okay.
Hell no.
Okay. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, you don't want to.
Nope. I drive a Volkswagen.
That's it.
That's my daily driver.
That's it.
I don't need any fancy shit down there.
Of course not. Of course not. Paul, what's the future looking for you in your community? What are the things that you know, coming now, the year 2025 is right around the corner. What are you forecasting? What is the vision as far as your brand? What is that you want to put out there to the world that people could follow you obviously on Instagram, but besides Instagram, what are you building on a new community, some kind of schooling, you know, that could help the young investors that really want to get into real estate?
You know, there's two answers to that question. And I know we have to wrap it up, but I have to give them. One, you want to help the people who aren't in the industry. And typically, a lot of these people are on the balls of their ass and don't have 2 nickels to make a dime. However, you still want to see people move ahead. If I would have had mentorship that I can give when I was fucking 18, 19 years old, man, I'd be worth 100 times more than I am today. However, you know, when people don't have skin in the game, they tend to take it lightly.
And waste your time.
Exactly. When people put skin in the game, different beast. Now they take it seriously. But you know what? There's also very, very wealthy people who don't know how to handle money. They don't know what to do with their money. And when I say they don't know how to blow their money, when I say they don't know what to do with it, it's not like they don't know how to blow it. They can go to a fucking store and buy the best of everything all day long, but that isn't giving them return on their investment. When you have money, you want to learn how to keep it. And if you don't know how to handle it, you're never going to keep it. All right? So, you know, I do want to start teaching people who have the means, wealthy people, how to make more money, how to protect themselves, how to keep themselves in the same tax bracket they are and only grow from there. If you could do that, if I could do that, I've satisfied my mission. So I'm reaching out to all. I'm reaching out to the people who have money, who want to invest it, don't know how to deal with it, and the people who want to start, who are serious, because waste my time is the one thing you don't want to do.
I think you're gonna get probably more satisfaction in that than actually doing your deals, hustling. When you reach at a certain age or some time in your life that you know what, it's time to give back, and you get more satisfaction in doing that than wheeling and dealing.
I love doing this. Here, for example, my big thing was always the deal, doing the refis, buying the properties. An hour before I got here, I closed another fucking loan. I mean, they have become such a non-thing that we don't even go to them. Everything happens in office. You know, they fucking notary comes to the office. My attorney sends me all the docs. We print them out, FedEx them, notarize them, FedEx them. Boom, closing done.
Do you see every single document, or do you already go off of your attorney that you've built?
No.
And you trust his word?
I trust nothing. I look at everything.
Okay.
Reagan said, trust but verify. Okay? And how are you supposed to learn if you just trust? Sign this here? No fucking shot. Sign this here? Nope, won't do it. Let me see what this is. Let me ask the question.
Have you been burned before like that? By giving some people the trust?
Of course.
Okay.
Normally contract.
The question is asked because, you know, for the authenticity. That's why.
Of course.
That's why you're drawn to people. It's just being authentic. Because some people just want to make it seem like they're perfect. They never lose.
No.
They're always winning.
No, you're going to lose. And the losing lessons are the most, they will be the lessons that stick with you forever. Because you're not going to lose again. If you make a mistake and lose money, that tastes like shit. You're going to learn from it, or you're going to fucking keep doing it? Nope, I learned. I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'll make another mistake, and I'll learn from that one. That's where experience comes in. That's where wisdom comes in. When you learn from your mistakes, your mistakes. That's it, man.
Paul, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For this time, and it's an honor to have you here.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.